What if the people you trusted most were hiding a betrayal right under your nose? One innocent barbecue was all it took for my perfect life to crumble, and what I discovered that day changed everything. My name's Alex. I'm 35 years old, and I've been married to my wife, Rachel, for 7 years. From the outside, we've had what you'd call a pretty ordinary life. Rachel works in marketing and is one of those people who's always on top of her game. She's sharp, confident, and, honestly, has a knack for charming just about anyone she meets. One of the things I admired about her when we first got together was how effortlessly she could navigate any social situation. But sometimes, that charm feels calculated, like she knows exactly how to get her way without you even realizing it. A couple of weeks ago, we decided to host a barbecue at our place. It wasn't something we did often, but the weather was perfect, and we figured it'd be a great way to catch up with friends. It felt like the right time, we hadn't had everyone together in a while, and I was looking forward to it. A chance to relax, crack open a beer, hang out with my buddies, and enjoy the day with Rachel. The guests started showing up, friends from work, a few from college, and some neighbors we'd gotten close to over the years. One of the first to arrive was my longtime buddy, Ryan. He and I go way back, practically grew up together. Ryan's the kind of guy who can walk into a room and immediately make everyone laugh. He's always been the life of the party, the guy who ensures everyone's having a great time. At first, the day was going just as planned. I was manning the grill, music was playing in the background, and everyone seemed to be in good spirits. But as the afternoon went on, I started noticing something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Every time I went inside to grab more drinks or check on the food, I'd catch Rachel and Ryan deep in conversation. At first, it didn't seem out of the ordinary, they've known each other for years. But the way she laughed at his jokes, the way she leaned in a little closer than necessary, it just felt different. I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining things. They're friends, right? What's the harm in them chatting? But the more I saw it, the harder it became to ignore. There was this subtle energy between them, this undercurrent that didn't sit right with me. As the evening wore on and the barbecue started winding down, I couldn't stop watching Rachel. She was her usual charismatic self, mingling with everyone, but there was something else. She seemed guarded, like there was a layer of her I couldn't quite reach. I tried to shake the feeling, but it lingered, gnawing at the back of my mind. And then it happened. Just as Ryan was getting ready to leave, I noticed a moment between them. It was fleeting, so quick that if I hadn't been paying attention, I might have missed it entirely. A glance, a smile, something too warm, too personal. My stomach turned, and for the first time that day, I felt a wave of unease I couldn't push away. But what was I supposed to do? Confront them with nothing more than a gut feeling? It didn't seem rational, and yet, I couldn't stop replaying it all in my head. The way Rachel laughed, the way Ryan's eyes lingered just a second too long. So here I am now, stuck in my own head, dissecting every detail of that day. Maybe I'm overthinking things. Maybe it's all in my imagination. But deep down, there's this nagging sense that something isn't right, and I can't ignore it. Alright, so here we are. The weekend comes to a close, and life shifts back to what I guess you'd call normal, at least as normal as it can feel when you've got this uneasy weight pressing down on you. I spent most of Sunday trying to shake it off, convincing myself I was just being ridiculous. Alex, you're overthinking things, I kept telling myself. I busied myself with anything I could, cleaning up after the barbecue, mowing the lawn, anything to push what I thought I saw between Rachel and Ryan out of my mind. Monday rolls around, and it's back to the usual grind. Work is busy, and for a while, I actually managed to put it all behind me. The flood of emails, back-to-back calls, meetings that seem to go on forever, it's the typical Monday blur. By the time I clock out, I'm completely drained. I get home a little after 6 and Rachel is already there, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open, probably wrapping up her own work. She looks up as I walk in and greets me with a smile. For a moment, I feel this odd mix of relief and uncertainty. She seems so normal. Maybe I really was making something out of nothing. After dinner, we're on the couch, catching up on a show we've been watching, when Rachel turns to me, almost casually, and says, "Hey, I was thinking, we had such a good time with everyone this weekend. Why don't we do it again? Maybe invite the same group over next weekend?" That familiar twist in my stomach comes back instantly. Why was she so eager to host another get-together? Normally, we're not the type to entertain often. She's usually the first to groan about the mess and effort. But now, here she was, suggesting another barbecue like it was the most natural thing in the world. I forced a smile, trying not to let the unease show. "Yeah, sure, we could do that," I said. But my thoughts were already racing. Ryan would be there again. Would it feel the same as last time? Would I catch them exchanging those glances, leaning in a little too close? Rachel's face lit up at my response, and she genuinely seemed excited. But that gut feeling of mine wasn't going anywhere. Her suggestion felt off, like there was more to it than she was letting on. We talked briefly about the guest list. She mentioned inviting the same group, maybe even a couple of new faces. I went along with it, nodding and agreeing like everything was fine. But inside, all I could think was, what's the real reason behind this? I didn't press the issue, though. What was I supposed to say? "No, I don't want to have people over because I think something sketchy is going on between you and Ryan." That would have made me sound paranoid, maybe even insecure. And if I was wrong? I couldn't risk blowing things up over a hunch. Still, the way she brought it up, it stuck with me. I couldn't ignore that little voice in the back of my head, telling me something wasn't right. I told myself I'd keep my guard up this time. Maybe I was wrong, maybe there was nothing going on. But I wasn't going to dismiss it so easily again. I'd be paying closer attention next weekend, no matter how much I tried to convince myself it was all in my head. The week dragged on, and I did my best to focus on work, but the thought of Rachel and Ryan kept creeping back in. Every time my phone buzzed with a text from her, I couldn't help but wonder, was I overreacting, or was my gut trying to tell me something I didn't want to admit? That suggestion to have another barbecue, it just didn't sit right. It felt calculated in a way I couldn't fully explain. And as much as I wanted to move on, I knew I couldn't ignore the feeling gnawing at me. By Wednesday, I'm starting to question myself. Maybe I'm just overthinking everything. Rachel's been acting completely normal, no red flags, no odd behavior. We've had dinner together every night, watched TV like we always do, and gone through our usual routine. But no matter how hard I try, I can't get that one moment at the barbecue out of my head. That evening, I get home earlier than usual. Rachel isn't back yet, which isn't surprising. She's been working late all week, prepping for some big presentation for a client. Or at least, that's what she told me. I settle onto the couch, crack open a beer, and start flipping through the channels, trying to unwind. My phone buzzes, a notification from work. I put it down on the coffee table, but as I do, my eyes drift toward Rachel's laptop on the dining table. It's just sitting there, open, like she'd only stepped away for a moment. Now, look, I've never been the type to snoop. Trust has always been important to me, and I want to believe I can trust her. But something about seeing her laptop sitting there, almost inviting me, makes me hesitate. I try to push the thought aside, telling myself there's no reason to be suspicious. But the idea won't go away. I sit there, staring at it for what feels like forever. What am I even hoping to find? I wonder. Probably just work emails or some random shopping cart she's abandoned online. But then again, what if there's something? Before I fully process what I'm doing, I find myself walking over to the table, sitting down in front of her laptop. I know her password, it's just one of those things you learn after being with someone for years. My fingers hover over the keys, guilt gnawing at me. I know I'm about to cross a line, one I can't uncross. But I do it anyway. I log in and open her email, scanning through the recent messages. It's exactly what I expected, work-related stuff, nothing even remotely suspicious. I let out a breath, feeling a mix of relief and embarrassment for doubting her. But just as I'm about to close the laptop, something catches my eye. On her desktop, there's a folder labeled Personal. It's subtle, tucked in the corner, but for some reason, it stands out. Maybe it's because I've never noticed it before, or maybe because it's the only folder that doesn't scream work-related. My heart starts pounding. Should I open it? What if it's just old photos or harmless notes? But then again, what if it's not? Before I can talk myself out of it, I click on the folder. Inside, it looks pretty harmless at first, random documents, some old pictures, and a few notes. But one file catches my attention immediately. It's labeled with a date from a couple of months ago. I remember that weekend. Ryan had come over to help with some house projects. My gut tightens. I click on the file, my hands trembling. A document pops up, and it's a string of messages. Messages between Rachel and Ryan. My stomach drops. At first, the conversation seems innocent, nothing that would raise a red flag on its own. But then I see it. A single line from Rachel, "Last weekend was amazing." It felt like old times. Old times? What old times? And what happened last weekend? I keep scrolling, my eyes scanning every word, my hands trembling with each new message. The tone between them becomes unmistakable. Flirty. Familiar. Something far deeper than friendship. And then I see the one message that drives it all home. I can't wait to see you again this weekend. I sit back in my chair, the weight of those words crashing down on me. This wasn't just paranoia. This wasn't just a gut feeling. There was something real here, something I hadn't wanted to believe. This weekend. The barbecue. Right in front of me, while I was flipping burgers and joking around with friends. My stomach churns as the realization sinks in. It feels like I've taken a punch straight to the gut. I don't know what to do. Do I confront Rachel now? Wait until the weekend and see if they slip up again. My thoughts are a whirlwind, spinning too fast to catch hold of. I slam the laptop shut, the weight of what I've just read pressing down on me. I sit there in stunned silence, trying to make sense of it all. An hour later, Rachel walks through the door, cheerful and carefree, acting like nothing's wrong. She kisses me on the cheek and asks how my day was. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there, my heart hammering in my chest, trying to figure out my next move. This isn't just in my head anymore. Something is happening. I'm not crazy. But now, I need to decide how to handle it. Saturday comes, and the tension in my chest has been building all morning. Rachel's been in high spirits, bustling around the house as she gets everything ready for the barbecue. She's humming softly to herself while arranging food on the table, acting like it's just another ordinary day. But for me? It's anything but. I try to distract myself by focusing on the tasks at hand, setting up chairs, filling the cooler, getting the grill ready. But my thoughts won't stop racing. It feels less like I'm prepping for a casual hangout with friends and more like I'm gearing up for a confrontation. Every move Rachel makes, every smile she flashes, I study carefully. She's good at hiding things, too good. I can't help but think she's putting on an extra show of being relaxed, almost like she's trying to convince me there's nothing to worry about. Maybe I'm imagining it, but there's something about how light she's acting that doesn't sit right. While I'm packing the cooler with drinks, I catch her checking her phone again. She's been doing that a lot today, more than usual. Every time it buzzes, she glances at the screen, then quickly puts it away, like she's trying not to draw attention. But I'm paying attention now, and I know better. The guests are set to arrive in about an hour, and I can feel my nerves getting worse. What's supposed to be a fun, carefree afternoon feels like a ticking time bomb. I keep running scenarios through my mind, imagining what I'll do if I catch those same glances between her and Ryan, if they sneak off again. At one point, while I'm fiddling with the grill, Rachel comes over to me, her usual warm smile in place. "You good?" she asks, slipping her arm around my waist. I force a smile, nodding. "Yeah, just making sure everything's ready. Don't want to mess up the burgers this time," I say, keeping my tone light. She laughs softly, giving my side a squeeze. "You always stress about the food too much. Nobody cares if the burgers are perfect, they're here for the company." I laugh with her, but her words stick in my mind. Company. Was she talking about everyone, or just one specific person? The first guests start arriving right on time, filling the backyard with easy chatter and laughter. Friends file in, balancing bottles of wine, bowls of salad, and plates of dessert. On the surface, it's no different from any other barbecue we've hosted. But this time, I'm hyper-aware of every little thing. I scan the crowd, waiting, bracing myself for the moment I know is coming. And then, there he is. Ryan. I'm trying to hold it together, greeting people with a smile, offering drinks, doing my best to play the part of the relaxed host. But inside, I'm bracing for it, for the moment Ryan shows up. My mind is already spinning, running through scenarios of how today might unfold. Eventually, I see him. Ryan strolls in with his usual easy confidence, carrying a six-pack and wearing that trademark grin of his. Across the yard, Rachel is chatting with a couple of friends, her laughter ringing out over the music. But the moment Ryan steps in, I catch the briefest glance between them. It's quick, subtle, even, but it makes my stomach churn. I push the feeling down and walk over to greet him, forcing a grin. "Ryan. Glad you could make it. Grill's already fired up, hopefully, I don't torch the burgers this time." He laughs, clapping me on the back. "Wouldn't be a proper barbecue without a little char, right?" We exchange a few more jokes, and I lead him over to the grill, the smell of sizzling meat filling the air. I focus on flipping the burgers, using the task as an anchor to keep myself steady. But I can feel him standing next to me, his presence practically buzzing with a kind of energy I can't ignore. I try to keep the conversation casual, asking him about work, his weekend plans, anything to keep things normal. But every time I glance up, I catch him scanning the yard, like he's looking for something. Or someone. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Rachel makes her way over. She's smiling as she approaches, her voice light and cheerful. Smells good over here," she says, flashing a grin that's aimed at both of us. I watch her carefully now, noticing every detail, the way she stands just a little closer to Ryan than she usually does with anyone else, the way they share a glance that seems to last just a moment too long. "You're not going to ruin them, are you?" she teases, nudging me playfully. I force a chuckle. "Not this time. I've got it under control." But inside, I'm anything but calm. Their laughter, the easy banter, it feels too rehearsed, too polished. Or maybe that's just me being paranoid again. Either way, I can't shake the feeling that something is simmering under the surface, waiting to boil over. I focus on the grill, flipping the burgers and arranging the veggies Rachel handed me earlier. The smoke rises, the backyard fills with chatter and laughter, and for a little while, it almost feels like a normal barbecue. Almost. But no matter how hard I try, I can't ignore the tension sitting like a rock in my chest. I glance around, scanning the crowd. Rachel is talking with some friends, her laugh as bright as ever, and everything seems fine. But then I notice something, or rather, someone, missing. Ryan. He's nowhere to be seen. I glance around again, my unease growing. Maybe he's grabbing another beer or using the bathroom. But why didn't I notice him leave? "Hey, Ratch." I call out, trying to sound casual. "Can you grab me the other tray of veggies?" I'm throwing these on in a minute. She turns, her smile as quick and easy as ever. Sure, I'll be right back, she says, heading inside without hesitation. I watch her go, my mind spinning. I don't want to believe there's anything going on, but my gut won't let me ignore the possibility. Where's Ryan? And now Rachel's inside, too. I try to focus on the grill, flipping the veggies and joking with the guests, but my mind keeps pulling me back to what I can't see. The longer Rachel is gone, the tighter the knot in my stomach grows. Then she comes back out, balancing the tray of vegetables. She's all smiles, her voice light as she teases, "Here you go, grill master." I nod, managing a quick smile, but my thoughts are still racing. Before I can say anything, Rachel perks up, as if she just remembered something. "Oh. I'll grab some more beer for everyone," she says brightly, her voice loud enough for the group to hear. The backyard erupts in playful cheers, our friends raising their glasses. "Yeah, more beer," they yell in unison. Rachel laughs, rolling her eyes in mock exasperation. Okay, I'm on it," she says, turning and disappearing into the house once again. The moment she's gone, the knot in my stomach tightens further. I force myself to focus on the food, flipping the veggies on the grill, but my thoughts are spiraling. Was she really just grabbing beer, or was this her excuse to slip away again? I glance around the yard, hoping to see Ryan reappear, but he's still nowhere to be found. And now Rachel's inside, too. I tell myself to stay calm, that I might just be overthinking things again. But deep down, I know. Something isn't right. The burgers are almost done, but my mind is miles away from the grill now. Something feels wrong, like a storm brewing just out of sight, and I can't shake the sense that it's about to crash down on me. The smell of perfectly cooked meat fills the air, and the veggies are just about ready, too. Around me, the guests are still laughing, chatting, and enjoying themselves. But my focus is elsewhere. Rachel's been gone far too long, and the knot in my stomach is tightening with every passing minute. I try to tell myself it's nothing, she's probably just grabbing the beers like she said. But as I pull the last of the burgers off the grill and place them on a tray, the clock in my head won't stop ticking. She should have been back by now. The guests are starting to ask for food, and I know I need to take the burgers over. But before I do, I decide to head inside. First, I'll grab the beers, then figure out what's keeping Rachel. I step into the house, expecting to find her in the kitchen. But the space is empty. The fridge is wide open, beers sitting untouched on the shelf. A strange chill runs down my spine as I glance around. The house feels eerily quiet. I grab a couple of beers, ready to head back out, but something makes me stop in my tracks. Where is she? I put the beers down on the counter, the tension in my chest building as I begin to walk through the house. My steps are slow, cautious, like part of me already knows what I'm going to find. I glance into the living room, nothing. The dining room, empty. Then I hear it. A faint sound near the guest bathroom by the stairs. Voices. Muffled, low, and unmistakably intimate. My heart stutters, and for a moment, it feels like all the air has been sucked out of the room. I freeze, every muscle in my body locking up as I strain to listen. Words, whispers, and then a sound that makes my blood run cold, a groan, barely audible but enough to leave no doubt in my mind. Rachel. And someone else. I stand there, rooted to the floor, my hand hovering over the bathroom door. My heart is pounding in my ears, and my mind is racing, trying to make sense of what I'm hearing. Part of me clings to denial, maybe I'm imagining it, maybe it's nothing. But deep down, I know. I know. Without thinking, I shove the door open. It slams against the wall with a deafening crack. And there they are. Rachel, my wife, is bent over the tiny bathroom sink, completely exposed. And behind her, Ryan, my so-called friend, his hands still on her hips. The image sears itself into my mind in an instant. For a heartbeat, no one moves. No one speaks. Rachel's eyes go wide with panic, her mouth opening as if to say something, but no words come out. Ryan stumbles back, scrambling to pull up his pants, but I'm already moving. Are you kidding me? I bellow, my voice shaking with a fury I can barely control. I grab Ryan by the collar and slam him against the wall, my fists clenched so tight it feels like my knuckles might break. You were supposed to be my friend. I roar, my voice cracking under the weight of my anger. How long, huh? How long have you been sneaking around behind my back? He stammers, his face pale, his hands raised as if to defend himself. But I don't care. I shove him again, harder, pinning him to the wall with every ounce of rage boiling inside me. Get out, I growl through gritted teeth. Get the hell out of my house before I do something I'll regret. My voice is barely restrained, and I can feel the urge to hit him surging in my chest. Ryan's eyes dart toward Rachel, who's standing frozen in place, tears streaming down her face. He mumbles something, maybe an apology, maybe a plea. I don't know, and I don't care. I let go of his collar with a hard shove, sending him stumbling toward the door. Now! I bark, and he practically trips over himself as he rushes out of the bathroom, not daring to look back. As the sound of the front door slamming fades, I turn to Rachel. She's trembling, still half naked, desperately trying to cover herself with shaking hands. Her face is streaked with tears, her mouth moving as if she's trying to say something. But I don't care. I don't care about her tears, her shame, or her excuses. She made her choice. She destroyed everything. And now, all I can feel is the crushing weight of betrayal and the cold, hollow emptiness it's left behind. Get out, I say, my voice as cold and distant as I feel inside. You too, Rachel. Leave. I don't want to see your face. Ever again. She looks up at me, her eyes wide, brimming with tears and regret, but it's too late. None of it matters anymore. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I trusted, is gone. All that's left is this stranger standing in front of me. And right now, I can't even stomach the thought of hearing her excuses. I don't wait for her to speak. I don't care what she has to say. I turn my back on her and walk away, leaving her standing there, broken, just like she left me. As I make my way through the house, the silence presses down on me. Ryan's already gone, and after a few moments, I hear Rachel's footsteps retreating too. She doesn't say another word. The sound of the front door closing behind her is like a final nail in the coffin of our life together. And then, there's nothing. It's just me now, standing alone in the hollow shell of what used to be my life. The house feels unbearably empty, every corner echoing with the weight of everything I just lost. My chest feels hollow, like my heart's been torn out and replaced with this gnawing, endless pain. But I can't break down. Not yet. There's still a backyard full of people, friends, neighbors, completely oblivious to the disaster that just unfolded inside. So, I do the only thing I can think of, I grab the beers Rachel promised and head back out. Stepping into the yard feels surreal, like walking into an entirely different world. The laughter, the chatter, the music, it's all still going, as if nothing's happened. I plaster a fake smile across my face, forcing myself to blend in, and start handing out the beers. Sorry for the wait, I say, keeping my tone as casual as I can manage. My voice betrays none of the chaos raging inside me. A few people cheer when I bring the beers, clapping me on the back like I'm the life of the party. But their voices sound distant, muffled, like I'm hearing them through water. The world feels slowed down, every step I take a struggle to maintain the facade. Once the beers are handed out, I grab one for myself. Then another. And another. I don't know when I stop caring how many I've had. Each bottle is an attempt to drown the images burned into my mind, to bury the pain clawing at my chest. But no matter how much I drink, it's still there, lurking under the surface. The beer only dulls the edges, makes everything blurry and distant, but it doesn't make it disappear. At some point, a couple of friends wander over, laughing and asking if I'm alright. I wave them off, forcing another smile that doesn't even come close to feeling real. I'm good, I lie, popping open yet another bottle. Just, enjoying the party. But I'm not enjoying anything. I'm barely keeping it together. Each sip feels like I'm slipping further away from myself, from the man I thought I was before all this. The sounds of laughter and conversation fade into the background as I sit there, nursing one beer after another, trapped in my own head. I try to focus on anything other than what I saw, Rachel, Ryan, but it's no use. The betrayal is there, constant and unrelenting. The next morning hits me like a freight train. I wake up on the couch, still in the clothes from the day before, surrounded by a graveyard of empty beer bottles. My head is pounding, the dull ache behind my eyes making it hard to think. But the pain in my chest. That's worse. As the fog of sleep clears, the memories come rushing back, Rachel, Ryan, the way they looked at me when I opened that door. The betrayal crashes over me like a tidal wave, relentless and suffocating. And I realize, no matter how much I drank, no matter how many bottles I went through, nothing could numb this. The sunlight streaming through the window is unforgiving. I sit up slowly, my body heavy, my head pounding from the aftermath of too many beers. My mouth is dry, and my thoughts are racing, but one thing is clear, I can't stay in this limbo. Not after what happened. I reach for my phone, the weight of my decision pressing down on me. It's time to take control of my life again. I don't hesitate as I search for a divorce lawyer. My fingers tremble slightly, but my resolve doesn't falter. I need to make the call now, before second-guessing or guilt pulls me back into the wreckage. When the lawyer picks up, I'm to the point. I need to file for divorce, I say, my voice hoarse but determined. It's not something I'm willing to drag out. I just want it done. As I hang up, I feel a strange mix of emotions. There's relief, like I've finally taken the first step toward freedom, but also a pang of sadness for everything that's ending. Before I can dwell on it, the sound of the front door opening snaps me out of my thoughts. Rachel walks in, her face pale and her eyes red and swollen, a reflection of the storm we're both caught in. She's clutching her bag tightly, her movements hesitant, like she knows this conversation is going to hurt. "Alex," she says softly, her voice shaky as she looks at me. "Please, can we talk? I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But it was a mistake, one I'll regret for the rest of my life. Please don't give up on us." For a moment, I just look at her, taking in the sight of someone I once thought I'd spend my life with. But now, all I see is a stranger who tore our life apart for reasons I'll never fully understand. "No," I say firmly, my voice steady. "There's no more us, Rachel. You made sure of that." Tears spill down her cheeks as she takes a step closer, but I hold my ground. "Alex, I'll do anything," she pleads. "We can fix this. I'll change, I cut her off with a sharp shake of my head. "The time for fixing this passed the moment you betrayed me. You and Ryan destroyed everything we built. You can't undo that. You need to pack your things and leave." Her face crumples as my words sink in. For a moment, I see the weight of her regret, the way her shoulders sag under the burden of her choices. But it doesn't move me. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. Without another word, Rachel nods and turns toward the stairs. I listen to the faint sounds of her packing, each drawer opening and closing like the final toll of a bell. I sit on the couch, staring blankly at the wall, my mind numb. When she finally walks back down, suitcase in hand, she pauses at the door. "I'm sorry," she whispers, her voice barely audible. I don't respond. I don't even look at her. A moment later, the door closes behind her, and the silence that follows feels deafening. The divorce didn't drag on like I thought it might. Rachel didn't fight it, maybe she didn't have the energy, or maybe she knew there was nothing left to fight for. Either way, it was over within months. Signing the final papers felt surreal. 7 years of marriage, reduced to ink on a page. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation in court, just a quiet, efficient end to something that once meant everything to me. I heard bits and pieces about Rachel after the divorce. Friends told me she wasn't doing well, that she was struggling to piece her life back together. But I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. She made her choice, and whatever consequences came with it were hers to bear. As for me, I had to start over. At first, it felt like I was walking through a fog, unsure of where I was going. The anger, the grief, the bitterness, it all took its toll. But slowly, piece by piece, I began to rebuild. I threw myself into work, not because I loved it but because it gave me structure, something to hold on to. I reconnected with old friends, spent time with my family, and focused on the things I'd lost sight of during my marriage. I realized how much of myself I'd sacrificed to keep our relationship afloat. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped prioritizing who I was, what I wanted, and what made me happy. Now, for the first time in years, I'm figuring that out again. Life isn't perfect, but it's mine. And that's enough for now. I've started taking better care of myself, working out more, diving back into hobbies I'd let slip away, and focusing on the parts of my life I neglected for too long. It's not perfect, and some days are still a struggle. There are moments when memories creep in unexpectedly, sharp and painful, like reopening an old wound. But even on those days, I can feel the progress. Slowly but surely, I'm healing. Through it all, I've learned some hard truths about what I deserve and what I'll never tolerate again. I used to think compromise was part of love, that sacrificing pieces of myself for the sake of the relationship was normal. Now, I know better. The thing is, life goes on, whether you think you're ready for it or not. In the middle of the heartbreak and the betrayal, it feels like the world has stopped turning. But it hasn't. The days keep coming, and eventually, you realize you're moving along with them again, step by step. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm further along than I ever thought I'd be. I'm stronger now, more certain of who I am and what I want. And as painful as it was to lose Rachel, I've come to see it as a turning point, a wake-up call I didn't realize I needed. So here I am. Picking up the pieces, rebuilding, and moving forward. The future feels uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it also feels like it's mine.